I am very pleased that today with me is a very special guest coming from South Africa, and he is a scientist, explorer, and internationally acclaimed author of numerous books, who has become an authority on the vanished civilizations of Southern Africa and the origins of humankind. He's also the founder of the Ubuntu liberation movement and the political party called Ubuntu Party in South Africa, which also contested the national elections this year in May in South Africa. So I would like to welcome Michael Tellinger. Hello, Michael.
Lovely to see you.
It's great to see you here in Slovenia, in Ljubljana.
Yeah, great being here.
You are having the lecture tomorrow on the very specific topics on free energy, but I would like to start with the Ubuntu philosophy with you, because you're really...
My favorite subject.
Your favorite subject, that's why. So let's talk a little bit on this. I am because we are. This is the sentence connected with Ubuntu philosophy. Yeah. Can you explain what really that means and where does it come from?
Well, you know, in Africa you don't have to explain the meaning of Ubuntu to anybody. Everybody knows what Ubuntu means. It's a deeply entrenched understanding of unity within community, where people work together for the greatest benefit of everybody in the community. It's an ancient African philosophy. It's not anything new. It's been around for thousands of years. And the important thing to recognize is that while this is an African word for this approach to life, all ancient cultures have got the same approach. They call it by different names, but all ancient civilizations, ancient cultures, all share this thing called Ubuntu under different names and different guises.
Do you think this is the gift that Africa brings to the world or something?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that is the case. And the reason I say this, interestingly enough, is because in 1986 I believe there were 4 Native American tribes, chiefs and senior representatives of 4 Native American tribes came to South Africa to meet with some of the senior shaman and sangomas and knowledge keepers of South Africa. And I believe there were some from surrounding countries as well. And one of them was Baba Credo Mutwa, the very famous Zulu shaman, who's a knowledge keeper of ancient African knowledge. And the reason they came to South Africa specifically is because they have in their prophecy that the new age would rise from South Africa. I didn't know this, so this was a surprise to me. And that was in 1986. So here we are in 2014, 2 years after 2012. And it just so happens that the whole Ubuntu movement that we started in South Africa. Now, the new age starting in South Africa doesn't mean that we're going to do anything, you know, strange or weird. But what we did is we started this little thing called Ubuntu Contributionism, and that is now spread to more than 215 countries. Every day that I turn on my laptop, switch on my computer, there are 10 or 20 new Ubuntu websites and Facebook pages going up all over the world. So I guess we are now truly squarely in the age of prophecy. And it seems that a seed of consciousness was planted in South Africa that has now grown and taken the world by storm.
But tell us, how can this understanding of these principles, Ubuntu principles, can help us in living today?
Well, that is why I called it contributionism. And contributionism is just a word that I came up with in 2005 when I started realizing that, we're enslaved on this planet by corporate greed, the capitalistic model, the entire philosophy of democracy that's shoved down our throats, and lies and deceptions, and realize that money is the tool of absolute control over humanity and has been the tool of control of enslavement for many thousands of years. So I called it contributionism at that stage, not realizing that Ubuntu is actually very similar from an ancient African perspective. So what contributionism really stands for is taking this ancient philosophy, which is a beautiful, simple philosophy of unity within community, and applying it to this crazy world we find ourselves in the 21st century. Because we can't just, stop doing what we're doing and change everything overnight, but we can start moving towards a new social structure, moving away from the enslavement and stranglehold of money and corporate greed and the hierarchical structure and competition, and start replacing it with a whole new approach towards a new social structure, a blueprint for human prosperity. And that's really what contributionism is all about, meeting the old ancient philosophy with a modern day application towards liberating humanity from the enslavement of money.
Okay, now you touch this ancient civilizations knowledge, and you're also the researcher on this field. A lot of, vanished civilization in South Africa, then stone circles in South Africa. You have explored the Adam's calendar, and found a lot of technologies behind this.
Yeah.
So how does this now goes together with Ubuntu movement? How does this ancient knowledge and all these ancient civilizations link to the Ubuntu movement today?
Well, that's what happens when you start researching origins of humankind and ancient civilizations. You start to realize that we're not looking at primitive people and people that lived in caves. We're actually looking at the opposite. We're looking that the further you go back in time, it seems the more advanced they were, and that there was a gradual decline in the technology and the sophistication of ancient civilizations. And the last 2,000 years has really been the real dark ages of humanity and people living in squalor and lack of understanding of the laws of nature and not having access to technology that was used in ancient times. What I found is that there was definitely a time in ancient times where money did not exist, and that the people or beings that were present on planet Earth, whatever it is they were doing, used very advanced technology, but so advanced that we haven't actually figured it out yet today. And this is what I found and I've presented evidence for in the discoveries in the stone circles, as you mentioned. So we're dealing with a really close understanding of the laws of nature, and I say the laws of nature because that is connected to the knowledge of or the belief systems of ancient cultures, that everything comes out of the primordial sound or resonance. And suddenly we find that these ancient people, ancient civilizations, or these vanished civilizations used sound and resonance as a source of technology and as a source of energy. Now, we don't use that today. That's relatively new science in today's modern world. Caesar technology is relatively new, and very few people are even aware of the fact that there is such a thing called Caesar technology, and yet the evidence that I present shows us very clearly that these ancient cultures were using Caesar technology in ways that we can't even imagine. So advanced technology, no money, and you realize, hold on, why does money play such an important role in our lives today, where it seems to be the hurdle to progress? So let's remove money from the system and things should improve. And that's exactly what happens. The moment you take money out of the system, everything gets better.
But do you have any proofs on this from the researches that you discovered in South Africa? These stone circles are actually scientifically proved that they are this technology, or?
Yes, of course we got proof. We got many measurements that we've done. We've measured electromagnetic fields, incredibly powerful electromagnetic fields that move in different ways. They move horizontally, they move vertically. We measured sound frequencies coming out of the stone walls of the stone circles that run in the gigahertz, and it's just spectacular. And you're not supposed to be measuring sound frequencies in the gigahertz in nature, and yet that's what we do. We're measuring sound frequencies that are so powerful that if you could hear them would make you go deaf. And then some of the stone tools and artifacts. And this is what makes this journey so exciting, because just over the last week, I've had a German scientist share new information with me via email of the measurements that he has done of the Taurus stones, the sacred stones, and some of the stone tools, the cone-shaped tools that I've been talking about, that I've been suspecting were the tools that would use to create the Caesar beam effect. And without me prompting him or anything, that's exactly what he suggested to me in his emails to me, because he measured the energies around the Taurus stones and was in his communication with me was quite astounded how much energy they create. Decibels, beyond 3,500 decibels of sound in the gigahertz coming out of the Taurus stones. So the measurements, the scientific proof is available. It's now what we do with this information. And not only that, some of the stone circles are actually built in the shape of magnetrons. And for people in the field of electronics or electrical engineering will know what a magnetron is. Every microwave's got a magnetron in it. Laser beams use magnetrons. They're very powerful energy generating devices. A little magnetron can create so much energy to create a laser beam that it can cut metal in a split second. And we've got magnetron-like stone structures made out of silica, or as closest to pure silica or crystal as you can get, made out of sandstone and other stones that contain high crystal content, that are 15-20 meters in diameter. So a magnetron 20 meters in diameter will create incredible amount of energy. We can't even comprehend the kind of energy it'll generate. And all of this using Mother Earth as the resonator. And guess what? It's exactly what Nikola Tesla was talking about in all his research, using the Earth as a resonator. And now we got a very interesting crossover with relatively modern technology that we all know was suppressed by the bankers. Everybody knows that Nikola Tesla was destroyed by the banking families. And here we got ancient civilizations that use the same philosophy and the same technology, but on a vast scale that covers large parts of southern Africa.
How do you see the link between southern Africa and Bosnia, for example? Pyramids in Bosnia, pyramids in Mexico, in Guatemala.
The one thing we must not confuse, though, is that the history of this planet goes back millions of years. It's not just thousands of years. So we got to be careful putting all the ancient stuff into the same era, because they've been, we've had visitors from all over the universe here for millions of years doing weird things at different times. We're only waking up to this now, and I really feel sad when you come across people that, that still struggle with the concept of extraterrestrials or star people, when every ancient civilization, every single one of them tells us we come from the stars, our ancestors came from the stars, but our modern historians and our modern academics keep saying, no, they don't know what they're talking about. It's like the arrogance is just unbelievable.
Okay, now I know that you are starting the community in Southern Africa too. It's called Stone Circle.
Yes,
Actually, you're starting building this community.
Yes, yeah. Look, Stone Circle is just the name of our head office. We call it Stone Circle in the Ubuntu village.
Okay,
so that's the home of the Ubuntu movement.
Yes.
And then our town is called Waterfall, which means upper waterfall in Old Dutch.
Yes. And you're building on the principles of Ubuntu. Yes. Tell me, what are the main challenges here? Because now you are in practical field of really bringing this philosophy into the life in these times. Tell us, what are your main challenges in establishing community on those principles?
The challenges are, I guess, quite obvious, which one would expect, is group dynamics is the first challenge. When you bring people together from different parts of the world, because we have volunteers there from all over the world coming to help us, and people arrive there with different ideas, different understanding of what it is we're trying to do, and trying to impose their own philosophy and trying to impose their own view of how things should be done. So we got to be very nice about it and say, no, that's not how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it, and actually keep control. Otherwise, it could run away with itself. The other thing is to uniting our own town, the community with our own town, and every country, every place has its own set of challenges. We in South Africa have a very interesting history, as you know. So most South African towns, if not all of them, are divided into what used to be the black areas, the black townships, and then the white suburbs. And so you got these two halves of every town and every city. And we've got 80% unemployment in our town, and high levels of illiteracy. We got 200 orphans, AIDS orphans. We got young mothers with children that are HIV positive. We got people that don't have any food, and so uniting these people and giving them a sense of hope, and most importantly is setting up a group of or a number of community projects that will make the people want to participate, believing that it is the right thing to do, not just for themselves but for the whole community, and doing it in such a way that you gain the trust and the confidence of the people in your community. So this is what's taken a long time to figure out. What are the things we have to do to achieve this? Because if you do the wrong thing in the beginning, you'll do the opposite. You'll lose the trust and you'll lose the confidence of the people. And we can't afford to do that. We need to get the people on our side. So whatever we do into the future, they'll trust you and they'll believe you that you can deliver, that you're not lying to them, you're not trying to deceive them. Because we're dealing with people that have been lied to and deceived under the apartheid regime, and now for the last 20 years lied to and deceived by their own government. A black run government that has deceived and lied to the people, and it's a worse dictatorship than the apartheid regime was. They've just destroyed everything. So people are traumatized and they have no trust anymore. So those are the real challenges.
So, as I understand, there is some kind of leadership necessary.
Absolutely. The leadership comes in the vision, sharing the vision with the people, not being a dictator and saying, well, in a way, you've got to tell people what we're going to do, because they don't know what to do. And people found out, and against my own, I guess, expectation, I found out that people do want leadership. They want to look up at someone and say, what should we do? So in a sense, I have to take that role and say, okay, well, this is what I've come up with. Now, let's try it like this and see how it works. And so far, so good, because every time I go out and I talk to the people, they seem to listen and they get excited and they want to do what I suggest we should do. So it's going in the right direction.
But they do participate with their own ideas too, probably.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, look, this is what contributionism is all about.
Yes.
It is not a leaderless system. It's very much a system that is controlled or directed by what I refer to as a council of elders, where people appoint the most trusted, respected, and trustworthy people from their own community as the council of elders that make decisions for the benefit of the community. And so this is really what we're trying to set up. Just to give you an idea, one of the first things we need to set up is to create a community kitchen, to feed the homeless, to feed the hungry, to feed the elderly people, and those that just don't have enough money to buy food. The moment people get rid of the stress every day, all they do all day long is find a way of where they're going to get food. So now, if you remove that stress from their life, and they know that they can get at least one good meal a day, you've got a large group of people that can become very proactive in creating abundance for the community. So we create a community kitchen What do we use for buying the food and preparing the food? We use the money from recycling the rubbish dump. So that's part of the first plan of action. Set up a community kitchen, start recycling the rubbish dump, and then you can feed the people with the money we make from the recycling. But you can't just feed the people, because now you're creating a culture of dependency. So we've got to find other community projects that the people can participate in so that they can come and get their meal every day. So you're introducing the philosophy of participation and contributionism from the very word go. And so the challenge now is, what community projects can we set up that don't cost a lot of money, but that can absorb, probably 200 or 300 people every day, because we're going to have to feed about 300 people a day for this. So in a small town of 4,000 people, maybe more. So we're looking at various community projects that they can participate in, and then 3 hours a day, and then come and get their meal. Now you already see, imagine if we have 300 people a day working for 3 hours. That's a large workforce. It's like a large factory. Already we can create so much abundance for our little town with that one simple act of initiating some of these community projects.
Okay, so we can imagine how to put this model now into the world for the whole world. It's quite a...
Yeah.
If there are challenges here.
There are challenges, but one of the other things that's important to note is one of the big hurdles to this is energy, electricity. So if we can find an alternative source of electricity, we have a very good foundation to kickstart this sharing contributionism philosophy. Because if you can offer the people an alternative source of electricity that is free, a free source of electricity, and in return for getting free electricity, uncapped electricity, in return, all they have to do is work for 3 hours a week in one of the community projects. That's the plan of action. That's the model that I've put on the table. No one is going to turn away from that. Everybody is going to take that offer. Now you've got a very interesting situation where you've got a town of 4,000 people working for 3 hours a week, and in return they're getting free electricity. Now the challenge is where you're going to find the electricity. So in my travels, I've been meeting inventors, designers, scientists, and we have found an alternative source of electricity. It's just now deciding which one are we going to put in place, which is the one that fits our town the best. And it's exciting. So when I go home now, first thing I'll be doing is deciding what alternative source of electricity we're going to offer our town.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, actually, yes. Okay, maybe just one last question. Tell me, because Ubuntu movement is really spreading now around the world.
Yeah.
What is your vision here, and also for your party? And also, what is your call behind all that you're doing? Why you're doing it?
I'm doing this because I love this planet, and I feel a deep sadness for the way it's been treated, the way humanity has been treated by people that have imposed themselves on the trusting, sometimes ignorant and naive, good-hearted people of the world that trust their leaders, that support their leadership, who turn their backs on the people and destroy them. The banking cartels, which has become the largest organized crime syndicate in the world. That's why I'm doing this, because I guess it's my calling, and at the root of my belief system, I believe I was born to do this. Otherwise, I'd feel very empty doing something else. So, if people think I'm doing this for money, I think they're mistaken.
I believe so. And your vision for the planet would be?
Yeah, my vision for the planet is, and this is another very important thing, where we have to bring together this philosophy of Ubuntu contributionism and bring it into the political arena, because we can't keep separating. Politics is about people. Politics is about serving people and providing for the people. We appoint our leaders to serve the people. So, but what has happened is that politics has split away from the people, and they've become the dictators and the draconian rulers and abusers of their own people. So we got to change it and revert it back to what it's supposed to be. So by creating a political platform or a political aspect of contributionism, we infiltrate the political arena with a global philosophy of unity consciousness, and inject the political beast with a virus of consciousness. And that's happened already. Now, in 2016, we have local elections in South Africa on municipal level, and I'm convinced that we're going to win, if not one, but several small towns as the Ubuntu party. Now, you can imagine what happens. Once you win a small town, or one small town in each of the 9 provinces, that means that we can really kickstart this philosophy of contributionism very successfully, because once you're elected and you're the mayor and you run the budget for your little town, then you can use the money in the budget the way that we propose to use it under a contributionist system. And I believe that will be the beginning of the end for capitalism and the abuse of humanity.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. I'm wishing you all the best with the Ubuntu movement.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. And I invite you all to really find your potential and contribute it to the world, because we need you.